How much of your garage ceiling does your door actually use when it is open? Not when it is shut, when it is all the way up. Almost nobody knows, and it is the reason I got called out to more ruined doors than any other single thing on this list. My name is Jack Wells. I hung and serviced garage doors for 30 years. I live outside Zanesville, Ohio, and I never met a door yet that was as broken as the estimate said it was. Let me get one thing out of the way first. This is not going to make your garage look like the one in the photographs. Nothing on this list will. If that is what you came for, you need the budget that video had, and I am not going to stand here and pretend otherwise. Now, I want to be straight with you about what this is, because there is a comment under the video that started all this, and I have not stopped thinking about it. A fellow wrote that about 3 minutes in. He realized he did not have that kind of money. 30 people agreed with him. Somebody else asked outright whether the whole thing had turned into a commercial for the products in it. And reading that, I thought, well, they are not wrong. So what does a garage like that actually cost once you strip the sponsors out of it? Far less than you have been shown, and for 2 of the 5, nothing at all. What I am going to do instead is take the same 5 upgrades, one at a time, and tell you which ones are worth real money, which ones you can do for 1/10 of what they cost, and the one that is not on anybody's list because there is nothing in it for anybody to sell. Before I start, do me a favor, because I am always curious who is out here. Tell me in the comments what state you are watching from. That is all, just the state. And I will admit something while we are being honest with each other. There is a coffee tin on my bench with about 40 old spring bolts in it that I will never use again, not one of them, and my wife stopped asking about it years ago. Every man watching this has a tin like that somewhere. Right. Number 1 is light. And I will give the fancy videos this much, they are right about it. Light is the cheapest thing you can change, and it changes the most. A garage with one bare bulb in the middle of the ceiling looks like somewhere you store junk. The same garage with proper light looks like a workshop. Nothing else moved, just the light. Here is what I would not do, and I learned this the hard way in my own place. I would not buy the cheapest strip fixtures on the shelf and screw them straight up the middle of the ceiling in a row. The problem is not how bright they are. The problem is where the light lands. If every fixture sits down the center of the room, then everything you actually do, at the bench, at the wall, at the back of the car, you do in your own shadow. You lean in over the work, and your own head blocks the only light in the room. So put the light where you work, not where the room is. 2 fixtures running along above the bench, and 1 down each side where the car doors open. 4 cheap fixtures placed like that will beat 8 expensive ones down the middle, and that is a free change. It is nothing but deciding where the screws go. The other thing nobody mentions is the color. There is a number on the box that tells you whether the light comes out warm and yellow like a front room, or cold and white like an office. In a garage, you want the cold end of that. Warm light makes a workshop look grubby, and it makes it very hard to tell one shade of paint from another. Same fixture, same money, different box. Just read it before you get to the till. And hold on to that idea about shadows, because it comes back at the end and it costs somebody a lot more than a light fitting. Number 2 is the floor, and this is where I am going to part company with almost everybody. The coated floor looks tremendous, I will not argue. It brightens the whole room, it wipes clean, oil does not soak in and leave a mark forever. All true. Here is what is also true. The kit off the shelf at the hardware chain, the one you carry out to the car yourself, is not the same product a professional crew is rolling on. It is thinner, it goes off quicker, and it lives or dies entirely on what you did to the concrete before you ever opened the tin. So why did these floors fail when the fella at the shop swore they would not? It is almost never the tin. The tin is not the job. The preparation is the job. If you do not get that slab properly cleaned and properly opened up so the coating can bite down into it, then it does not matter what you paid. It will lift, and it does not lift quietly or evenly. It comes away in sheets exactly where the car sits, because a hot tire grabs at a coating that never bonded and peels it straight off. Then you are not laying a floor anymore. You are taking one off, and I promise you that is far worse work than putting it down.
So my honest answer is this. If you will genuinely give it a full weekend of preparation, do it, and you will love it for years. If you are honest with yourself and you know you have got one Saturday afternoon in you, then do not buy the kit at all. Clean the slab properly, put a plain concrete sealer on it, and lay a rubber mat where the car parks. You will get most of the good out of it for a small part of the money, and not 1 square foot of it will peel. One more thing on floors, and this came from a viewer rather than from me. Somebody pointed out that on a lovely smooth-coated floor, if you drop a small screw, good luck to you.
It disappears. There is no texture to stop it rolling, and it looks like every other reflection down there.
I laughed out loud reading that because it is completely true, and I had never once heard it said in a video about how wonderful these floors are. Get a sweeping magnet on a stick. Best few dollars in the building. Number 3 is getting your tools where you can actually reach them, and this one costs nothing at all. So which tool in your garage do you own and never touch? Everybody has got one. The rule is simple. Anything you do not want to walk for, you will not use. That is the whole principle. A vacuum sat in the corner behind the mower gets used twice a year. That same vacuum hung on the wall by the door gets used every week. It is the same machine. Nothing about it got better. You just stopped having to shift 3 things to get at it. So go and look around your garage and find the tool you always mean to use and never do. Then ask yourself honestly how many things you have to move first. If the answer is anything other than none, well, there you are. The one place I would spend real money is retractable air and power on a real overhead. Somebody in the comments called those a game changer, and I agree completely. Not for the reel itself, but because a cord on the floor is a cord you have to coil up afterwards, and any job you have to tidy up after is a job you keep putting off. Get the cord off the ground and you will do the small jobs you have been ignoring for a year. If a proper reel is not in the budget, and very often it is not, the cheap version does nearly the same work. A heavy hook up high, and the cord hung in big loose loops rather than wound tight. Big loops, tight coils are what kills extension cords. They cook from the inside if you run them still wound up. Now, if this is the kind of thing you want more of, do me a favor and subscribe. I put one of these up every week, all of it from the side of the trade you do not normally get to hear, and it costs you nothing to have the next one turn up. That is the only time I will ask. Number 4 is the walls, and here I want you to slow down before you spend anything. There are 2 roads people go down. There is the slat system, the panels that run right across the wall with channels in them so hooks slide anywhere you like. And there is the wooden cleat wall, where you cut a long strip at an angle and hang everything off matching strips screwed to the back of your bins and holders. The slat wall is expensive and instant. The cleat wall is cheap and slow. That is the real trade, and nobody states it plainly. One fella in the comments put it perfectly. He loves the idea of cleats, but he hates that he then has to build every single bin and hook and holder himself, and he has not got that kind of time. That is exactly it. A cleat wall is not really cheap. It is paid for in weekends instead of dollars. So be honest about which of those 2 you have more of. Money and no time, buy the panels. Time and no money, cut the cleats. And if you have got neither, which is most of us, here is the 3rd option that nobody sells because there is nothing in it for them. Do one wall, not the garage. One wall. The one nearest the door, where the things you actually touch every week live. Do that one properly and leave the rest alone. You will get most of the benefit out of a small part of the work because you do not use most of your garage. You use the bit by the door, and you always have. And if you have only just landed here, I am Jack, 30 years on doors, and the next one is the reason I made this video at all. Number 5 then. This is the one I have been waiting for, because this is the one that put money in my pocket for 30 years, and not in a way I am proud of.
Overhead storage. The idea itself is right. The space above your head is the only space in a garage that nobody is using. Getting the boxes off the floor and up there is genuinely the biggest change you can make to how big that room feels. But look at what these videos put in front of you. A powered lift, a platform that comes down on a motor at the push of a button, $600 in climbing. And a viewer under that video said the quiet part out loud. $600 is steep for lifting 2 suitcases and a cooler. He is right. In 30 years, I never once walked into a customer garage, looked up at a motorized lift, and thought, yes, that was money well spent. Here is what people who are really doing this do instead. One fella in the comments buys wheel racks, the steel racks made for stacking tires, catches them on sale for about $60, and bolts a plywood base across them. Strong, rated for proper weight, and 1/10 of the price. Somebody else pointed out that if you want the platform to come down, you do not need a motor, you need pulleys. A rope and a couple of pulleys will let one person lower a loaded platform by hand, because that is precisely what pulleys are for. Neither of those men had a sponsor. They just needed a shelf. But hold on, because none of that is the mistake. The mistake is where you put it, and it is about to cost somebody watching this a folded panel. And now the part I actually came here to say, because this is the one I got called out to fix over and over, and it is not in a single one of these videos. Your garage door does not go straight up. It curves. It comes off the vertical track, runs around the bend, and then it travels backwards along your ceiling, straight into the exact space you are about to fill with storage. And when it is fully open, it sits up there, taking a big flat area of your ceiling that looks completely empty when the door is shut. I cannot tell you how many driveways I pulled into for a door that was jamming or grinding or had folded a panel, and the door was never the fault. Somebody had put shelving up over the winter, measured it beautifully, measured it with the door closed, and never once opened the door to check. Then on the first cold morning, it caught the corner of a plastic tub, and either it stopped dead and burned out the opener, or it did not stop and it folded a panel. A panel is not a cheap part, and I will tell you something else. The repairman who turns up is not always going to tell you it was your shelf that did it. He is going to sell you a panel. So here is how you do it right, and it takes 2 minutes and costs nothing. Open the door all the way up, all the way, not most of the way. Then go and stand there and look at where that door is actually sitting, and put a pencil line on the wall at the underside of it, and a second line at the back edge of it. Everything you hang goes below that first line, or behind that second one, not level with it, below it, and leave yourself a handwidth of room, because doors sag a little as they get older and springs settle over time. Do that one thing, and you will never have this problem in your life. Skip it, and one wet Tuesday you will meet a man like me, and he will hand you a bill. While you are up there, 2 more, and both of these came from a viewer who has obviously done it. Think about your light before you build, because a big platform in the middle of the ceiling puts everything underneath it in shadow, and you have just undone everything we did at the start. And think about how it fails, not whether, how. Anything you hang above your own car wants to be fixed into the timber, not into the plasterboard, and it wants to hold a great deal more than you plan to put on it. The day you find out your storage was not strong enough should not be the day it lands on the roof of the car. So there they are, the same 5, done the way I would do them in my own place. Light first, because it is cheap and it changes everything, and put it where you work rather than down the middle. Floor second, and be truthful with yourself about the preparation, because if you will not do it, a sealer and a mat will serve you far better than a kit that peels off in sheets. Reach third, and remember that any tool you have to move something else to get at is a tool you do not really own. Walls fourth, and do the one wall by the door rather than the whole room. And storage last, over your head, on cheap steel racks, with a plywood top, and a rope over a pulley if you want it to come down to you. And before you put a single screw into that ceiling, open the door and draw your 2 pencil lines. That is the difference between this list and the one that made that fella feel poor 3 minutes in. None of it needs a sponsor. Most of it needs a Saturday, a tape measure, and somebody willing to tell you the part they leave out. Now I want something from you, and I think the answers are going to surprise people. Go out to your garage tonight. Actually go. Open the door all the way up, stand underneath it, and look at how much of your ceiling that door is using. Most people have never looked at it once in their lives, because you are either inside the house or you are getting into the car. Then look at whatever you have already got hanging up there, and be honest with me. Is it clear, or have you been getting away with it for years without knowing it? Tell me what you found down in the comments. I would wager a fair amount that a good half of you find something up there sitting closer than you thought. And if that is as common as I believe it is, then that is the next video I make. I read them. Hi, I'm Jack. I am out near Zanesville, and I answer the ones that ask me something real. Next week, I am pulling apart the one thing every single one of you has in your garage and almost nobody understands, and I would sooner you heard it from me than from the fella writing out your invoice.